verses 36 through 38, if you want to turn there. John 18, 36 through 38. This is Jesus before Pilate during his trial. Jesus said, "My kingdom is not of this world. If it were, my servants would fight to prevent my arrest by the Jews. But now my kingdom is from another place." "You are a king then," said Pilate. Jesus answered, "You are right in saying I am a king. In fact, for this reason I was born, and for this reason, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth. Everyone on the side of truth listens to me." "What is truth?" Pilate asked. With this, he went out again to the Jews and said, "I find no basis for a charge against him." So we have the well-known question that Pilate asked in this setting, what is truth, in response to Jesus' claim that he came to testify to truth and that those who are on the side of truth listen to Jesus. And so in introducing the topic on Wednesday night, I started with the question of, why study truth? Why is this worth our time? And had a number of answers. Truth is important. Today, it seems as if truth is more nebulous than ever, almost like truth doesn't exist. There's no such thing as absolute truth. These are some common statements today. In the Bible, it talks about true worship, and so that implies, obviously, there's worship that is not true, that we need to be able to differentiate between truth and error. Of course, Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life," in John 14. So when Jesus says that he is the truth, that seems like that's pretty important, and we should understand that. The comment was made that truth is not always pleasant. It's not always easy to hear, not always easy to say, and therefore something that we should study. We see in Scripture that we're expected to be prepared to give a testimony, to be able to speak truth, and so there's a responsibility that we have as Christians. Knowing the truth helps us in our life to live successfully, to live according to God's will. Let's see. Jesus also said, the truth will set you free. So there's some connection between freedom and truth. Of course, everyone values freedom, and so what is that talking about? There was a comment made that the devil is a liar. He's a deceiver, and so we need to be able to distinguish between that which is true and that which is a lie, because lies ruin lives, and lies lead to hell. And so again, we need to be able to distinguish. We ended, the last comment I wrote down was this idea that, again, it's prevalent, it's impossible to know truth. Absolute truth is really unknowable. No one person can really understand truth. So it is a important topic. Hopefully that quick survey of our discussion on Wednesday is a refresher for those of you who were there, and hopefully it resonates to some degree with those of you who were not there Wednesday night. These are legitimate issues. We talked about the question. We asked the question: is truth more vulnerable today than it's ever been, or are things worse now than they've ever been? And there was a good number. I think over half the class raised their hand and said, "Yeah, it seems that way." And I even shared some statistics that where a number of Americans that believe in absolute truth, and only about 1/3 of Americans believe that there is an absolute truth, and that number is even lower. About 25%, 1 in 4 young people between the ages of 18 and 25 believe that there is such thing as absolute truth. And so maybe in that sense we see a declining in our culture. But the reason we started with this verse from John chapter 18, 2,000 years ago, is that we're not the first ones. This isn't a new thing for people to be struggling with the concept of truth or debating about what is true. And if it was true in the life of Christ, and when we think about the scriptures and that Jesus tells us about Satan and how he is the great deceiver and the father of lies, of course he goes back to the beginning, right? We see him in the garden introducing, telling the first lie and tempting Adam and Eve. So it's always been part of our culture, and there's probably not a lot of value in us trying to determine, is it worse now in 2024 in the United States than it's ever been before? We might have our opinions about it. I think suffice it to say, it's a problem now. It's been a problem before, and one that we and our children and our grandchildren should be. It's important for us to be studying and to sharpening our skills on this, staying, valuing what God says about truth. Otherwise, we may also be victims that we see so many becoming as we maybe start to fall for some of the lies that Satan says. So that's my reintroduction for those who weren't here Wednesday, and for those who need a few minutes at the beginning of a Sunday morning class to kind of get in the groove. Any questions or comments as we wrap up that section? All right. So there's I mentioned on Wednesday that we only have 9 classes to study this topic. And so as I've there's lots of different ideas that I have in my head of things that I'd like to study, but I want to try to present this morning really 4 applications that I'd like us to focus on. If I were to say to you that the number one thing I want to do is focus on the most important truth, what do you think I might be referring to when I say the most important truth?